Hello everyone, my name is Olivia and welcome to a new reading vlog. I don't have any weekend plans in particular, but I thought it would just be fun to take you through some of my week, some of my weekend, give you some reading updates, share some things along the way, if I do any fun activities. So this is going to be a very casual, very cozy summer vlog, and I wanted to tell you about two books that I'm currently reading. I am both 60% through each book. I'm in kind of a romance era because all I want to do is read romance books. I don't want to read anything else because they provide me so much comfort, escapism, and just warmth in general. So these two books are romances, but they're a little bit different. So one is a literary fiction romance and the other one is a fantasy romance. So let me tell you about the literary fiction romance, and that one is Alone with You in the Ether by Olivia Blake. This book, I'm sure, is going to get so big on YouTube in the coming months once it is published. The author originally self-published this book, and then it became so big on TikTok and so big on social media in general that the publisher, I'm not sure which publisher, I think it may be Tor, decided to publish her books. So they have taken the independently published version of the book off the market, but I bought it right before it was taken off of Amazon, so I have it on my Kindle and I'm 60% through, and I am enjoying it, but not absolutely in love with it the way that people are on TikTok. But I do think that people tend to overhype the way that they feel about books on TikTok just for the drama of it all, but that's another thought for another day. I am greatly enjoying the writing style. It is a story about these two strangers who meet in Chicago one day and they decide to have a bunch of different conversations with each other. So they get to know each other through very unusual circumstances. It has a lot of beautiful prose and a lot of beautiful descriptions, and really spends its time mulling over these main characters' thoughts as we follow both of their point of views, and it's very much introspective and artistic and really focusing on these two characters who have very different personalities but come together because they are fascinated by one another. A lot of people tend to say that it's like the best book they've ever read on TikTok, and I don't necessarily agree because I have read prettier books that have made me feel so much more inside, and this one I'm just kind of waiting to figure out how I like these characters because I feel like we don't truly know them. I feel like they're hiding something from us. I'm not necessarily convinced by the romance in general. The other book that I'm currently reading is called The Bird and the Sword by Amy Harmon. So I asked people to recommend me fantasy romance books on Twitter one day because I was just in such a big mood to add a bunch of them to my TBR, and a person recommended this book to me and I looked it up, thought it was intriguing, added it to my TBR. So I decided to start The Bird and the Sword, and this is a really cool fantasy romance that I just like sucked myself right into, and I'm very surprised by it because I don't get enamored by fantasy very easily. It's not something that I gravitate towards, and I find it very difficult to fall into a new world, especially when it has a whole magic system and it's just very complex. So we follow our main character Lark, who is unable to speak because of a curse that her mother put upon her to protect her. Her life is connected to her father's life through this curse, so if she dies, her father dies, so he keeps her as a prisoner in his kingdom. And there's a person named Tyrus who is in another kingdom who is the king, and he is destined to belong to the sky. And these two characters eventually intertwine, come together, and it's set in this world that there are a bunch of different kingdoms and they all don't trust each other. As someone who does not read fantasy a lot and is not very easily won over by it, I am having such a blast with this. It's so readable. I started it at 10 p.m. one night in bed and I stayed up reading it until 1 a.m. Did not finish it. I'm sure if someone had a better attention span and read quicker than me, they could probably finish it in one sitting, but I am 61% through it so far and I am greatly enjoying it. I think it is so well done. It is so interesting, and I'm just so happy that I started it because I wanted to dive a little bit more into fantasy and see if there are subgenres that I'm very interested in, and I think the subgenre of fantasy that I love are fantasy romances, because if you don't have a romance at the heart of a fantasy, you lost me. I need that intrigue, I need that pull to keep on reading, and while I'm at the 60% mark and it's a little bit slow and it's kind of being bogged down, I'm hoping that it does pick up and things really spark my interest again because I want to eventually finish it. So I think since I'm 60% through both books, I should be able to finish both of them by the end of the week. So that's my plan. Those are the two books that I'm currently reading. I'm enjoying both of them. I'm not completely won over by both of them because Alone with You and the Ether, there's just something about it that I'm just not clicking with. And The Bird and the Sword I am greatly enjoying, but right now it's at a very slow spot. So I'm hoping that it really picks up and keeps that pace that I really enjoyed at the beginning of the book. It is 4 p.m. and I am going to pick up my new pair of glasses at 4:30. Nobody get excited because I went to the eyeglass place and told the man who was working there that I want almost the exact shape as these because I really like the way that they complement my face. I think they're the perfect size in terms of frame size, and I found out that I'm like kid size in glasses frames because my face is so tiny that if I were to pick out adult frames, they're just too big for my face. So the only difference that my new glasses will have is that the frames are slightly bigger, maybe by like a couple of millimeters, and they are a dark blue frame. That's the only color that they had, and I was like, okay, let's go for it. It's not going to be like out there blue, it's just a very subtle dark blue. But I have not gotten new glasses since 2017 or maybe 2018, so it's been a while. So I feel like the adjustment period is going to be really weird because I'm so used to these, but I will show you what they look like once I get them. I got my new glasses. It's a very subtle blue, like you can barely tell unless you're very close to me, and it's practically the same exact shape as my previous glasses. I want this shape forever. I just think it suits my face so well, and it's such a big lens that it feels timeless and modern, and I am so happy with it. I still have to get used to like looking around with these new glasses because the person who helped me try them on and fit them to me said that my astigmatism makes me feel like my peripheral is very wonky and weird, and I just have to get used to that with this new lens. But I wanted to show you the final product. I think it looks beautiful, it looks the same, and I'm sure that nobody would notice if they didn't see this vlog that I got new glasses because they look the same. Now that I got these new glasses, I'm going to get my book. I'm probably going to keep on reading the fantasy romance, The Bird and the Sword, and try and finish that. Probably not tonight, but maybe by tomorrow night I can finish it. And I'm going to settle down and read, and it's going to be great, and I can't wait to relax and just enjoy my time with my book. Hello, I have finished 3 things so far for this vlog and I wanted to update you on them. The first book that I finished was The Bird and the Sword, and I was really enjoying this fantasy romance and was sucked into the world for once because fantasy is a genre that I don't necessarily gravitate towards. But once I hit the 40% mark, I kind of lost interest in the story. The story became a lot slower moving, and the relationship between the main character and the love interest just kind of fizzled out for me. I was actually kind of annoyed by the love interest for most of the book once I hit the 40% mark, and I just didn't understand the appeal of him because he just seemed very manipulative and, I don't know, like wishy-washy, like you didn't know what he was going to do from one moment to the next, and that kind of lost my interest in this fantasy romance. But I am really happy that I finished it because I want to delve deeper into fantasy romance. I think it's a subgenre of fantasy that I'm very interested in, so I'm glad that I picked this up. But it ended up being a very lukewarm read for me, and I definitely do want to find another fantasy romance that is consistent all the way through in terms of the plot and in terms of the romance, because the romance was very interesting in the beginning part of the book, but towards the end I was just over it, was not interested in it, and was not interested in a relationship or the story overall. Lore Olympus Volume 2, I finished it in one sitting and I love it. I love Lore Olympus so much. I love the art style. I love the storyline. I just love this webtoon so much, and I am so happy that I'm able to collect physical copies of this webtoon because this is my first ever webtoon and I fell quickly in love with it. And I have been saying for years upon years how I wanted to have physical copies of the story, and I am so happy that I'm able to start my own collection for Lore Olympus and eventually collect more webtoon stories that are being published. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. I just love revisiting the story and revisiting Persephone and Hades and all these different gods in this world. I think it is so well done, it's so clever, it's so colorful, and if you have not picked up Lore Olympus, I highly recommend you do. It's definitely a fun story if you love Percy Jackson, if you just love Hades and Persephone romances. I would highly recommend it because this relationship is so much more healthier than other Hades and Persephone retellings. Hades is very considerate and kind to Persephone, and Persephone is also very kind and lovely to Hades, and I love that their relationship is explored in a very new and healthy way. So I do want to shout this out because I finished it and I loved it. I wanted to close out this vlog because this is just a hodgepodge of so many different days that is going to be put together, hopefully in an aesthetically pleasing way, but I wanted to just close it out for you. I finished Alone with You in the Ether, and I actually filmed like a rant review of it, explaining how much I did not like that book. It's probably one of my least favorite books of all time, and I don't want to go into it, but I just think that it's incredibly harmful that it's being marketed as a romance when it's probably one of the most unhealthy and codependent and addictive relationships that I've ever seen in literature, and I don't think it should be marketed as a love story. When people are looking at this story and saying, I want a relationship like that, I think that's very unhealthy. I don't want to get into it because I just turned 25 and I have reached this point in my life where I don't want to argue about books. I just don't have the energy to do that anymore, so I'll be sure to link my review down below if you want to read it, but I just had that whole entire rant filmed and thought to myself, there's no point in posting that. There's no point in getting too deep into this book because it just does not deserve my time and effort. So rather than sharing that rant, I am just going to move on. I also read Lore Olympus, greatly enjoyed it, had so much fun reading it. It is such a fun webtoon that is now a physical series that I'm collecting. I also hope you enjoyed watching some of my birthday shenanigans. I have a couple of more that's going to be included in a future vlog, but I had such a great 25th birthday with so many of my friends and my family, and I just felt so loved and just had the greatest time to celebrate my 25th birthday. I cannot believe I'm 25. I definitely don't feel 25, but thank you to everyone who sent me birthday wishes on Instagram and on Twitter. I really do appreciate you, and I hope you enjoyed this vlog. It's a definite mixture of so many different things and so many books being read, but I will be sure to link all my reviews down below so you can read them, especially the one for Alone with You in the Ether if you're definitely curious about my thoughts. Be sure to be kind in the comments, and if you want to follow me anywhere else on social media, all my links will be down below, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!